Welcome back to another episode of the On Deck Circle podcast. I am your mustache host. I'm channeling my own Spencer Strider this week, Jason. Nick Zaniboni, also known as the Italian Breakfast. Jason, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm actually kind of disappointed you missed out on a great pun. You could have been like, I mustache you a question. But,
Nah.
that boat has sailed.
I'm not a dad yet, so I don't have those. What is that noise? Someone's being drafted somewhere, which is great for our show today. But let's start with everyone's favorite portion, the cold open question of the week. Jason, I want you to tell me if you had the first pick in an all-time baseball fantasy draft, all time, who are you picking? Ready, set, go. All right, Jason.
I mean, that was just way too easy of a question. It's obviously Ken Griffey Jr.
No.
Yes. As someone that has grown up in the 80s and 90s, it's without a doubt the 1-1 of baseball. Not only baseball, but fantasy baseball is Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, the guy
that's a choice.
Put up statistics, so he's going to contribute to your fantasy team. And the dude's just literally brought swagger to the game in the 90s. Backwards hat, batting practice. He probably, if he wanted to, probably could have worn the backwards hat at bat when he was batting.
Is swagger a category?
It should have been, because he would have ruled swagger of all time.
All right. There's one answer and one answer only, Jason. It's Barry Bonds.
Oh, come on.
Dude, he had an OBP in 2004 of 609.
I know. When you're getting intentionally walked with the bases loaded, you have reached peak fantasy baseball.
I was too young to fully appreciate him. I just knew my dad would, like, old man, be like, oh, he's on steroids. Look, like, he would show me his baseball card from the Pirates and then be like, you're telling me. Of course he did steroids. They all did. They were all juiced to the gills. And you know what? It made baseball better. And do you know what else makes baseball better?
What's that?
The pitch clock.
I absolutely agree. I hope. So I know this was a big exaggeration, but yesterday I think Rob Friedman or Pitching Ninja shared this is an exaggerated example, but there was a half inning in spring training that was and this was real time, the same speed as it took for Pedro Baez to throw one pitch in the NLCS. And this was, I mean, obviously this is a huge exaggeration, but still you get the point that the pitch clock is here to stay. Hopefully it's here to stay, I should say.
I'm all in. I was talking to my fiance about it and just telling her about the just like the difference. I was like, it's like a half hour shorter.
Yeah, there was a game yesterday, I think. Again, spring training, but it was 2 hours and 4 minutes.
That is like the sweet spot of, like, it's perfect. And
that's the same length as a college basketball game that has a halftime.
Exactly. I'm pumped. Do we have to share anything else today, Jason?
Yeah. We got to get done a little bit of business here before we get into what we're supposed to be talking about. But before we get there, if you want to get access to award-winning advice, rankings, and more, it's all available at Fantasy Six Pack. You can sign up for a membership there today. You can go to fantasy6pack.net/plans. And if you use promo code F6PMLB, you're going to get 15% off all of our available options there. Really great stuff. We got a Discord up and running. All of us are in there. You can ask us as well as other Fantasy Six Pack members questions. You get them answered. You got a bunch of rankings and cheat sheets available there. So go ahead and do that. You can also go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're going to get great fantasy content all year long, not just our podcast, but there's baseball, there's football, there's just a ton of content there on our YouTube channel. So go ahead and make sure you subscribe to there. And if you need more customizable settings for your fantasy baseball league, then you need to try Fantrax. You can create an account there today at fantrax.com/fantasy six-pack. And you can see what you've been missing. I know, like you and me, we play in deep dynasties. Customization and deep player pools is what Fantrax is all about. We got a guest appearance here by one doggo over here.
Yeah.
Go ahead and switch your league to Fantrax today.
Yeah. I don't There's another platform that I have to use because of some leagues. And Jason, it is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, you need to be playing at Fantrax for sure.
Definitely.
But today we're gonna switch it up a little bit here. I know we've been doing a lot of our, Dynasty baseball position previews, but with it, the calendar turning to March 1st, I think it's time to focus on drafting and draft strategies. Right now, the biggest, I guess, industry league is kicking off, and that is the TGFBI, otherwise known as the Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational. Just a little bit of an introduction to this league. It is put on by Justin Mason of Fangraphs and a bunch of other places you can find him. But it's basically, I think, up to almost like 600 entries now.
Yep.
Of all top fantasy baseball. You have to contribute in some way, whether it be podcast, blogs, some form of fantasy baseball content needs to be produced in order to be in this league. There are a few non-industry people, and that's people that have won satellite leagues last year, get an entry into this year. Basically, it's 15 teams in divisions, and then you compete for an overall standings. The draft order is determined by KDS, which I actually kind of like. So, from people that are unfamiliar, yeah. So KDS is, I believe it stands for Kentucky Derby style.
Correct.
And so in normal times you would get put into a random order, right? So that you still get that random order, but now instead of getting the first overall pick, you are now get your first overall preference pick. So what you're going to do is you're going to set your preference of what draft pick you want. So if you want the number 1 overall pick, your first preference would be 1. So for my instance, on my KDS, I wanted the turns, either whether that be 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then so my KDS preference went 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I went 15, 14, 13 in that order. So I ended up getting 5th draw. So by the time I went to the 5th draw, 1, 2, 3, or 4 was already taken. So therefore my 5th preference was the 15 slot. So I ended up getting the 15 slot for my TGFBI league. Did you set a KDS?
I did, but again, it was not something that I fully like. I understand the gist of it, and I like you. My preference, I think, was 1, 2, 3, 15, 14. So I ended up getting 14, which I am perfectly happy with, and I'm excited to hear. We love the turn. Spoke about how we both love the turn. We both also last year had the turn when we both picked Walker Buehler, which yes. I don't remember us like bonding over that, but we both did. And then instead of bonding over that, I think we could have cried over that because that did not work out for us.
Yes. Last year I went Trout Buehler at 15, 16, which again, like you said, we could have put a cried over because Buehler lasted about a month.
And Trout
was good. But again, when you lose out on one of your first 2 picks, your season's pretty much washed. Yeah. I ended up getting riddled with injuries, not just Buehler. My pitching staff was just riddled with injuries. I got to about, I think, like May. I ended up being top 55 overall, and then just went downhill. Never cracked the top 200 after that. But this year, we're gonna switch it up, right? I think we both kind of agreed after getting burned by Buehler. There is no pitcher in the first 2 picks, right? Am I correct?
Jason, you are very correct, and I'm not picking a pitcher. I'm 4 rounds in. My goal is to pick them after round 10.
So you're going outside the top 150 for pitching.
Yep, and I don't know if it's going to work.
Bold.
But I think there's enough 3s out there, or like fantasy 3s, like Pablo Lopez could easily be picked that late.
Yeah.
And could anchor my staff. Maybe like he's not going to completely contribute to it, like be that number 1 guy, but he's not going to hurt me. My goal in this draft now is to draft pitchers that won't hurt me.
Yeah. Pablo Lopez right now has an ADP of 161. So there you go.
right
That's
now,
definitely outside the top 150.
can easily get him after that turn. And then ideally, so I'll just share how I started. I went with
Yeah, let's know.
Bo, then Devers, because like socks,
Yeah.
then Olsen, which I thought was kind of like that's like a layup. He's like an easy 30 homer guy.
I've been seeing him slip too, and I almost took him, but for when I go over our team, my team, I'll tell you why I didn't. But yeah, I don't know why he's slipping. I know the batting average is a little bit of a concern, but I mean, this guy's going to be putting up 200 RBI plus runs. I mean, and probably 30 plus home runs.
So it seemed like a no-brainer. And then finally, I don't know if we said this. I don't think we did. TGFBI is also a two-catcher league, which is bogus. So I went with Adley Rushman, who I actually have as my third catcher in not dynasty. So just like in baseball for me, like fantasy-wise with Real Muto, then Will Smith, and then Rushman. Some might put like Salvador Perez up there or like Varsho, but I just enjoy. Most of all with fantasy is I love having players that I like to watch.
Right.
And AL East, I'm trying to I'll be able to watch the Orioles a lot because the Sox will play them a lot. We'll be able to watch Bo Bichette a lot because the Sox are playing them a lot. So I'm actually really pumped about this. I think I'm going to go double outfielder next because outfield gets pretty shallow pretty quick. So
you also need 5 outfielders in TGFBI too.
So that's a lot of outfielders that need to be taken between now and then. So I think I might go maybe 3 straight outfielders for my next 3 picks, just depending on who they are. Like Corbin Carroll, I've been like eyeing. One thing I don't like is in the draft room, it shows last year's statistics. I wish it showed projections. So I've kind of just been plugging people into Fantrax, and I can see their projections for them for this year. Because like Corbin Carroll, it said like, oh, he had like 6 home runs or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, but I was just thinking it was a projection, but it was not.
So just a little, build on your, not taking a pitcher within the first 10 rounds. You got a little bit of something going here. So if you look at the ADP outside of 150 on TGFBI or NFBC, which is where it's held, you're looking at guys like Lucas Giolito, Chris Bassett, Dustin May, Chris Sale, Luis Garcia, Pablo Lopez, previously mentioned, Jordan Montgomery, Charlie Morton, Tony Gonsolin, Jeffrey Springs, Drew Rasmussen. Those are definitely, like you said, SP3s. Yeah, you could probably build a pretty, you may not get those strikeout numbers you're going to get from like those aces that you're going to get in those first 3 rounds, but the ratios are going to be there. Depending on who you pick, some of the wins are going to be there. So, I think you might be on something here. And again, with TGFBI, you're competing against 600-700 others. At some point, you need to defer yourself from the crowd. So I like the way you're building this here, and you're getting like those top hitters. I know you said you don't take any pitchers. Are you worried about saves in this strategy?
Worried about them? No.
Yeah.
I think by now I'm going in round 5 now, I think. Yeah, it's almost my turn 5. The top guys are gone. I'm just going to either plug or just punt them, like just continue, because it is just pitcher, right? You don't need relief pitchers.
Right. It's just a P spot. So you can build your 9 pitchers any way you want.
So I could easily just draft 9 of those 3-4 pitchers.
Yeah. And one other thing too about TGFBI, it is a weekly fab. So you could always chase saves. Because let's be honest, there's going to be injuries, right? Closers are going to get hurt. You could definitely chase saves with fab throughout the season.
I don't understand the fab in that. So maybe off air, you can explain it to me.
It's
one fab thing all year.
The only thing that it is since it's weekly, I think a lot of people you're getting looking like overwhelmed, is that people call it waterfall. So you can set up so to make sure you get the guy you want, you can waterfall your bid. So that way you're not missing out if somebody else outbids you, or you know what I mean? Like you can put in like 5 different bids for the same drop or the same player that you want to drop. But I will agree. I was similar to you. I lost out on a lot of fab or a lot of free agents last year just because I wasn't
too cautious with it. I think I
yes.
needed
That is
more.
that was mine too. Is I was very cautious. A lot of people were outbidding me early in the season. I think that's one thing you can take away from it with the fab is to be a little bit maybe more aggressive in the beginning, especially if you're chasing saves. You're gonna want to get those guys at the beginning of the year. You may have to overpay.
And then one other question. Sorry, this is now just me asking questions because I'm
go ahead.
The lineups.
Yeah.
Pitchers are a longer lineup, like it lasts longer.
So good call too. Yeah. So TGFBI it's weekly. However, only pitching locks weekly. Hitters you get to move on for the weekend. So a week runs Monday to Sunday. Those pitchers lock in Monday to Sunday. The hitters you can move in and out on that Thursday. So basically for the weekend series of that week, if you want to make a change, let's say for injury, bad matchups, someone's going through a cold streak, on that Thursday you can change your hitters.
Okay. All right. I think I fully in my second season of TGFBI, I think I'm getting it.
Nice.
Awful. But anyway.
So Brian, I think you already said it once again, but run us through your what pick are you on right now?
Okay. I'm gonna let me open up right now. I
say
am on to round 5.
Okay.
So, and I'm going with outfielders. I'm gonna throw some names at you actually, because I don't think.
And you're about to make your 5th pick, you said?
I think it's 6 picks away.
But you're coming up to it, yeah.
Yeah. So,
who's on your team right now?
My build already has the power in it. So it's Rushman, Olsen, Bichette, and Devers. So I don't need like that power. You're like particular power hitting outfielder. So there's Adolis Garcia, who I hate. So I am not picking. I understand he hits home runs, but no,
and
I don't
steals
think
bases.
Yeah. Corbin Carroll, Eloy, Springer, Reynolds, great for average. I don't know where he's gonna be for the season, but he's good. Tyler O'Neill, Buxton could be good if he plays. Seiya Suzuki, Jake McCarthy, my guy, Stephen Kwan, who I am obsessed with, but doesn't help me with pretty much anything other than runs.
Yeah.
So I think this season I'm looking at more at the categories and building my team through certain ones.
Yeah, that's smart.
And there's no OBP, which is what I'm doing in every other league.
I know.
I'm searching for the OBP. So attacking things in more of a calculated way. I've got some power. Let's maybe get some runs up. So then maybe I target a Stephen Kwan in the next few, not now, but the next few picks. Hunter Rent, Stanton. He's ADP of 150.
Yes.
He's not bad.
No, not at all.
He's not Judge. I think he gets shit on, but he could easily hit me 40 homers.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that I've been kind of, during our mock draft in preparation for TGFBI, he was one of those guys that in a 5th outfielder league going at ADP of 140. I mean, I think that could be a great buy.
Yeah. Carroll's fun though, just because he's a young guy, but I try not, especially in redraft. It's so hard because we're so used to dynasty.
Right.
I'd be Corbin Carroll's there at 67. I need to pick him. No, you don't.
Yeah, I try to avoid. I know he's not technically a rookie anymore because he exceeded his MLB rookies, but he still needs a full year. And to me, he's still a rookie. For redraft purposes, I'm staying away from any sort of rookies, and that even includes guys like Bobby Witt. They're just not there for me. Bobby Witt right now is someone that's going in the 1st round. The upside's there, but in those first few rounds, I want to get somebody that's going to be safe, someone you can count on, someone you know what you're going to get. So Corbin Carroll, he's going to get you that power speed combo that you might want, but I'm staying away from guys like that in redrafts, especially in TGFBI. the upside's there, but I want some. The floor is not there for what I want. That what do you say? 67 overall. That's too high.
like it's too early. And then I have another question for you. So what's fun about TGFBI is towards the end of the draft, you can kind of have your dart throws of like maybe a prospect that might come up. Like last year,
Right.
my throw was Quan.
Yep.
So that worked for me. Who is somebody that you're targeting at the end of this draft that might not start the season in the bigs, but like is right there? Because I have mine, and I think we're gonna have the same guy.
Oh man, that's tough. I mean, I'm just trying to think of like hitter or pitcher. What's that?
He's in your division, as in the Cubs division.
Oh,
you won't pick because he's a Cardinal.
I mean, the only thing I think of is like Jordan Walker.
Oh yeah.
See, but I think depending on I think he's got a pretty high ADP and he's going to get drafted because I think a lot of people are under the impression he's going to start the year. Yeah, right now he's got an ADP of 230. That's actually not that bad.
No.
He does have a min pick of 92 though. This is obviously all draft, so that includes like just NF, the DCs and
but that's still kind of crazy.
If I can get him, if you're getting him at like 250, I'd take that because there's a chance he does start the year. To me, again, I think he gets that third base eligibility. He might even get outfield at some point too because I think they're going to start him there. He's definitely someone that you could definitely eye near the back end of the draft. For mine, just real quick, go over my draft so far. So I started at 15th spot. I got Machado, Guerrero to start. So again, like I said, I want to get safe floor there at those first two picks. Then I followed that up with I went pitcher. Then I went Romano, Scherzer. So I still wanted to get those saves and have that one ace. Similar to you, in the 5th round, I got Rushman, and then I got Springer.
Oh,
so good. Springer, again, I needed an outfielder. We're on now on my 6th round pick.
Maybe I'll go Springer.
He did have a full year last year. However, there are always those injury concerns with Springer, but he can give you that power and that speed combo. I just realized too that earlier today when I took him, I'm like, wow, I'm actually loading up. I now have 2 Toronto Blue Jays, which I guess isn't a bad thing, but
no.
To me though, in the TGFBI, I want to get those closer, at least one closer. Last year I went closer heavy. It didn't pan out. Yeah, I led my league in saves, but that's about the only thing I led my league in with Class A and Jansen last year. So I think one good closer in the first like 4 rounds. I wanted that. I don't need to get a second one until maybe like that 2nd or 3rd tier closers. If I can come away at the end of the year with like 50 saves, I don't got to lead the league in saves, but if I can be at the top 3 in my league for saves, I'm happy with that. Scherzer, we know what we're getting with Scherzer, right? You're going to get that A status.
Yep.
Going to get me probably 15 wins, 200 strikeouts. Again, Rushman is not something that I would normally target this early just because it's a 2-catcher league. I had to reach on a catcher. So now obviously you have to wait forever because I just made my picks, but I'm going to, I think, come back to me in the first 10 rounds, like the first top 150. If I can get one closer, 2 starters, I'd be happy. I don't want to go pitcher heavy because I did that last year. I actually went more of a balance last year between hitter pitcher. I want to go a little bit more hitter this year just because I feel like you can get some pretty good deals, like you said, after that 150 mark for the starting pitcher we just talked about earlier. Especially with having the Scherzer to kind of anchor my rotation.
Yeah, if you have your one, you can kind of fill in the gaps.
Yeah, and pitchers just tend to get hurt more often, as I found out last year too. I went pitcher heavy, and they all ended up getting hurt, and I was just screwed. So I think hitters, yes, they can still get hurt too, but majority of the injuries will happen on your pitching staff versus your hitters. But I'm definitely curious to see, going forward. The one thing I will say about drafting out of the turns, though, which I don't love, which I've seen happen a lot, you miss on runs, right? So you got to sometimes reach for guys.
And you got to start the run.
Yes, exactly. So, like, I started the run on Scherzer, and then in the 4th round. And then basically from that point on, there was, I'd say from the time of the start of round 4 to the end of round 5, 80% of it was starting pitchers or some sort of closer. So again, I didn't want Scherzer there. I was thinking more going hitter again. But again, if I didn't take Scherzer, then I would have missed on all those starting pitchers. So like that's one of the things that does suck about the turn is sometimes you can miss a run, and that would obviously hinder you. But again, being at the turn, you also get to pick 2 guys that you want, and you can get guaranteed.
It's so fun. But then like after the turn, you're like, 20, 25 more picks till I'm up.
Yeah, exactly. One other thing I found handy too, which, a little bit shout out to Fantasy Six Pack and their membership program. We have cheat sheets that I've been actually utilizing in the TGFBI, which I found super helpful. We have multiple different cheat sheets for any sort of format, whether it be Roto, and then you can even include the ADPs and it'll run formulas based on which site you're playing on. So if you're on NFBC, if you're on Fantrax, if you're on Yahoo, ESPN, all of them, that's only available to members. And I've been utilizing that, and I've also been utilizing Dave Eddy's roster construction cheat sheet, which I think you may have had last year too, where you basically punch in. Yeah, you basically punch in at the top the 80% of what the category statistics was from the winner last year. And you kind of it helps you build and see where you might be lacking in certain categories. Kind of like we talked about earlier with your strategy of basically using it and looking at building based off of the actual categories. That really helps with that cheat sheet, which is available to members too. It shows, like I said, it'll show you where, you enter in your whatever projections you want to use. There's a ton of them at Fangraphs or wherever you get your projections from, Fantrax, Fangraphs. I've been finding that super helpful between both the cheat sheet and the roster building cheat sheet have been super helpful. So one question I have for you though too is going forward with your no pitcher strategy. Is that, your SP3s, are you going to take some flyers on maybe some at the late rounds of guys that may be injured? Like, are you willing to, some of these guys might see fall here, like Joe Musgrove or Tyler Glass now. Would those guys interest you after the 150 mark with having no floor, I guess, with your SPs?
I've shared with you, I'm not going to say a name out loud of
right,
that I am going to be picking very short.
Yeah.
And I'm approaching this season as if I'm a genius and a savant. Unfortunately, we both know I am nor a genius. But I could be. This could be like my big break, Jason. If I win this, people are going to be studying me for years saying, think of the zero running back. Someone was the first guy to do that.
Yeah.
And I might not be the first guy to do zero pitcher, but I want to be the first guy to do zero pitcher and fucking win.
I mean, like you said, there's always a trend to start. Last year, everyone was in the mocks, you got to take pocket closers, get a closer in the first 2 rounds. And obviously that failed miserably.
And we listened.
Right.
Because
so at some point,
we were doing. So now I'm the one that's going to be preaching this going into next season. I can't wait to come in dead last. But I'm telling you, I can't wait to check in next week. And I'm like, all right, so there was a run on pitchers and I got everybody. And I'm just in the middle. But after 4 picks, I'm already committed. Because now if I was going to pick a pitcher now, I would lose all the value of the pitcher. It would just be like, oh, okay, nice. I have who's the top pitcher available now? I think I have is probably like a mid guy that I'm like, oh, I could just have someone that's also mid just a little bit later. Like Bieber.
Right.
Bieber's the top guy right now. He's fine. But Alek Manoah, also fine. But what is he contributing to me that Pablo Lopez can't contribute to me in 100 more picks?
Yeah. So I know we talked a little bit earlier about some of these flyers are guys that people are reaching. So like Corbin Carroll, we talked about him earlier. In my league, he went, let's see, what is that? That's like 50th overall, 55th overall, right next to Matt Olson. So that's, and then the pitching run. So you're in round 5, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alek Manoah, that's where we had our huge pitcher run, SP run. Alek Manoah went, where that would have been like in the top, like probably right in the range you're at. So hopefully, and then also with your strategy too, I just want to build on some more. There's flyers that you can take at the end of the round that even if they don't make the team out of spring training,
boom,
you could just drop them in that first fab run. You know what I mean? You could use those late round picks for some guy like Brandon Pfaadt. We talked about him in the starting pitching preview. Yep. He came out. He's competing for that fifth spot in the Arizona Diamondbacks rotation. He's off to a great start this spring. You could draft him late, and if he makes it, awesome. If he doesn't, you could always just drop him that first fab run and pick up a starting pitching.
Do you know who I'm obsessed with this season? That I don't know if I've actually shared this out loud. Zach Eflin. I think he's going to be like.
So he's on Tampa now, right?
He's on Tampa. That's the number one highlighted mark. Tampa acquired him. He picked Tampa over the Red Sox, which kind of bummed me out. But like, and it's been rave reviews, and his ADP is 315. Like,
right.
Give me that value later, and I'll have these hitters that are just gonna like pick Giancarlo Stanton instead of picking Tyler Mahle. Like, no, I don't need that. Give me Giancarlo Stanton over Jack Flaherty. I don't know. Like, just give me the homers.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely interested in seeing this strategy put into place and see. We'll have to revisit obviously our TGFBI throughout the year, but I feel like a mid-season breakdown of how our TGFBI team is going and how your zero pitcher strategy is playing out mid-season would be super great. And like I said, maybe we're talking to you next year as the winner of the TGFBI, and then you're just like highly heralded,
just like Italian genius.
Exactly. So I am through 6 picks. You are almost through 5. Well, I think this has been such a great topic. I think we should just extend draft strategy into let's make it a 2-week topic. Awesome. Yeah. We can catch back up again next week and talk about, a few more picks on our TGFBI. And then we can also talk non-TGFBI and give some listeners maybe some thoughts on just like our redraft strategy, our dynasty strategy, if we're playing our head-to-head or versus an auction, things like that. Because this has just been a great time, and we're already at our time limit. So
this flew by. And Jason, I really want to thank you for doing this because I had tickets to the Celtics game tomorrow. And do you want to know what sucks? My buddy canceled on me, so I sold the tickets. So now not even going.
Nick, you just ruined the magic of podcasting. This is going to be airing.
Oh, we were going to air on Wednesday. Damn it.
I'm just fucking with you, man. It's all good.
But still, thank you.
Of course, man.
At 9, I got something on Slack. Is that true?
Yes. Are you going to attend?
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is. I don't know what it is. It was news to me too.
It's also at 9. That's way past my
you're in bed. You're in bed by that point.
Yeah. Just text me to remind me. All right, buddy.
All right, buddy. Until next time, though, we'll be back here again. I think we'll be live streaming next week. We'll let you guys know. Just look on the YouTube. You'll see it.
But
until then, after the draft season. Also, one more quick thing. Next week, the Fantasy 6-Pack series kicks off.
Oh, yeah, the 8th.
So we will talk about that maybe next week as well on top. We'll figure it out. There'll be more draft talk, more draft strategies going on. It's draft season. Let's put aside the dynasty talk for a little bit. Let's get deep dives on some of these strategies we're using in our drafts, whether it's industry, whether it's your home league, whatever. We'll talk these draft strategies for next week or so at least. So, Talk to you next week, Nick.
Thank you, Jason.